In a quiet, crowded neighborhood, a widow named Miriam lived with her only son, Ian. Their home was small and worn, the kind of place where every corner whispered hardship. Miriam worked tirelessly, sewing clothes, washing dishes, and taking odd jobs to make ends meet. Ian, barely in his teens, helped whenever he could, delivering groceries, fixing bicycles, or assisting at the mechanic shop down the street. Despite the hardships, they carried themselves with quiet dignity. Miriam always encouraged her son, telling him, "No matter how hard life gets, we carry our strength inside." But strength alone could not shield them from what was about to come. One night, while Miriam was closing her small tailoring shop, there was a frantic knock on the door. A woman stood trembling, her clothes torn and her eyes wild with fear. Behind her, a man, her husband, appeared, pale and desperate. We need help," the woman whispered. He accidentally killed someone. We can't go to the police." Miriam listened quietly, her heart pounding. The couple pleaded, promising that if she took the blame, they would provide for Ian's future, pay for his education, give him a stable life, ensure he never had to struggle like she had. Miriam looked at her son sleeping in the next room, his young face peaceful, unaware of the storm approaching. She swallowed hard and nodded. "I'll do it," she whispered. The next morning, the police arrived. Miriam confessed, her voice steady but her hands shaking. She told the story the couple wanted her to tell. Witnesses backed her false testimony, and soon, Miriam was sentenced. Ian's world collapsed around him. The neighborhood that once greeted him with smiles now stared with suspicion and disdain. Whispers followed him down every street, like mother, like son, some said. "Stay away from him, he's dangerous." The couple that promised help vanished from their lives. Instead of supporting him, they mocked him openly in front of neighbors. They called him ungrateful, laughed at his poverty, and went out of their way to make him feel small. At school, it was no better. Teachers scolded him more harshly than the other students. His friends turned their backs, whispering rumors and spreading lies about his mother. Some days, Ian found himself isolated, eating lunch alone while the laughter of others echoed like a cruel soundtrack. Yet, he never cried. He never lashed out. He silently carried the weight of injustice, each insult and each humiliation fueling something deeper, a quiet determination. Years passed. Ian grew taller, stronger, and more disciplined. He worked evenings at the mechanic shop to pay his own school fees and studied late into the night under a dim lamp. Each day was a battle. He dodged ridicule, endured sneers, and walked past neighbors who snickered at him. But inside, he nurtured a single thought: one day, the truth will come out. And I will not be broken. He excelled in his studies, not for applause or recognition, but for the promise he had made to himself and his mother. He learned to transform every humiliation into motivation, every sneer into fuel. The people who once mocked him were unaware that their cruelty was forging something far stronger than they imagined. One afternoon, the neighborhood gathered for a small festival. Children ran with balloons, music played from a nearby speaker, and the air smelled of roasted corn. Ian walked through the crowd, carrying his tools from the mechanic shop, when the couple who had ruined his life appeared. They saw him and, with a cruel grin, began mocking him in front of everyone. "Look at him. Just like his mother, destined to fail," the man jeered. Laughter erupted. Mothers shook their heads in disapproval, and children avoided him. Something inside Ian snapped. Years of silent suffering, years of carrying a burden that was never his, erupted into a torrent of words. "No," he shouted. The crowd froze. "You've lied about my mother for years. She is innocent. Every word you told this neighborhood was a lie." The couple faltered. Shock replaced their smugness. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Eyes turned to Ian. The people who had whispered and laughed now listened, stunned. For the first time in his life, the world heard the truth. The revelation did not erase the years of hardship, but it changed everything. The neighbors who had mocked him and his mother now faced the consequences of their judgment. The couple's lies crumbled under scrutiny. Ian doubled down on his education, driven by a renewed purpose. He worked harder than ever, saving every dollar from the mechanic shop and studying late nights with unwavering focus. Scholarships, part-time jobs, and sheer determination propelled him forward. Years later, Ian graduated as an engineer. He built a life of dignity and stability. A modest apartment turned into a home filled with light, laughter, and opportunity. He married a woman who admired his resilience and respected his journey. With his financial stability, Ian sought legal help to reopen his mother's case. The truth came to light. Witnesses spoke, evidence was reviewed, and Miriam was finally freed. The woman who had sacrificed everything for her son returned home. Ian welcomed her with open arms, tears mingling with laughter. The boy who had once been mocked and humiliated had become a man who would never again allow injustice to dictate his life. The couple who had framed Miriam faced public disgrace. Their lies no longer held power over anyone. The neighborhood learned a lesson about judgment, truth, and the weight of promises. Miriam and Ian lived together in their new home, free from poverty, ridicule, and fear. Ian often reflected on his journey. Every insult, every mocking word, every lonely night of study had shaped him. He realized something profound: pain and injustice do not define you. What defines you is how you respond. Through discipline, determination, and courage, Ian had transformed suffering into strength. The boy who was once silenced became a voice that could not be ignored. Ian's story spread quietly through the neighborhood. People were inspired by how a boy, abandoned by circumstances and betrayed by false promises, could rise above it all. He became a living testament to resilience. Not through revenge, not through anger, but through unshakable commitment to truth, hard work, and courage. No insult, no lie, no betrayal could ever crush him again. And that was his ultimate victory.